Now I'll talk a bit about marketing. Now, I'm going to start with a concept called customer development. Put your hand up if you've heard of this before. A few of you. Cool. So I think the best way to pitch customer development to students is to say it's a bit like cheating at exams. The real value of customer development is avoiding the problem of going away with your wonderful idea that you initially come up with, building your product, and realizing after you've spent lots of time and money building it that it doesn't quite solve the problem that you originally thought it would do. It needs to change. So the idea behind customer development is that as early as possible, when you have an idea for a company, you get out of your building or your bedroom, as it's likely to be, and start talking to the people in the market that you're thinking of targeting. Really, really understand what the current situation they're in is, what are they using currently to solve their problems, what do they really need to get their solution? Is what you're building going to be that solution? And rather than investing huge amounts of time and money to try and build the perfect big Ferrari that they would love to have at the end of it, try and build what's called a minimum viable product, which is the smallest possible solution that you could create that solves a version of the problem you're trying to address. It's going to be a lot cheaper than trying to build the whole thing, a lot more achievable for you to do at the early stages, and it will allow you to get feedback much faster if you can just get it out there. So, for example, with GroupSpaces, what we tried initially, we had little more than a tool to send out emails, but we launched the site with that as GroupSpaces because we could get it out there, get feedback, start getting feature requests, start getting people using it, and then add to it later. And it's a much faster, more effective way of building startups. And then with that feedback, point 3 here, you can learn at each stage and iterate and tweak. And like I say, it's almost like cheating, because if you do that process well and you're constantly getting feedback from your potential customers really, really early on, you're never going to just walk down this path that leads to failure, because you know that everything you're doing is going in the right direction because you're constantly checking along the way. So if that sounds like a pretty cool idea, there's an awesome book called 4 Steps to the Epiphany, which is basically a framework for this whole process with customer development that you can buy on Amazon. It's very, very popular in Silicon Valley right now, and it really does help you a lot with the early stages of building a startup. And what it helps you get towards is the only thing that matters. I'm not going to show you this time. Put your hand up if you think you know what might be on this slide. What's the only thing that matters when you're building a product?
That you can sell it?
Yeah. Any other answers? Yep. Yep. So both of those are very similar to my answer, which is product market fit. And this is basically a point where you kind of have met the needs of the customers you're targeting. You have successfully met the need that you're trying to, and you've solved the initial problem you're trying to solve. You don't necessarily have a perfect solution, but you've got something good. And there's been quite a lot of research done by a guy called Sean Ellis, a top marketing guy in Silicon Valley, over the last few years, about how to measure this concept of product market fit. It's a bit fluffy. And what he's found is that if you do a survey with your customers, your users, and ask, how would you feel if you could no longer use GroupSpaces, your product, and you give them some options, very disappointed, somewhat disappointed, not disappointed at all. If you get over 40% of people saying they'd be very disappointed, if they could no longer use your product, you've probably got to that point. He's done this survey a lot of times, and that's roughly the data point that you need. So for GroupSpaces, we did this survey for the first time about a year ago, and we got 42. We were like, yeah. But it's something that it's really interesting, because what you find when you're then growing a company is that you're not just in one market, so you can have product market fit with, UK university societies, but then you go off to other countries or target other markets, and then you need to learn and tweak and do things again to achieve the product market fit. So again, another resource for this, survey.io is a free survey tool created by the guy, Sean, that I mentioned, who came up with this. It's got that question on it. It's basically an 8-question survey that is a really, really well thought through survey to initially give people who are using your product, if you're doing a startup, and gets you some great feedback. Some of it is just answering a multiple choice question. Some of it is asking for longer form answers, like what's the primary benefit you've received from this product, or what could we do to better meet your needs. Really, really good survey. And the reason why product market fit matters is that it's really the foundation of building a company. That if you don't have a product that really solves the problem you're trying to solve properly, you're basically trying to build a business on a house of cards. It's just gonna cave in, because you haven't really got there. It's not worth doing all the other things until you've got this core stuff right. So again, by this guy Sean, he's come up with this pyramid that he uses to describe the different phases of building a startup. And it starts with product market fit. And then the other stages within building the company, you've got promise, which is about highlighting the benefits that those people who've said that they'd be very disappointed if they could no longer use your product are talking about. So it's not the benefits that you have when you initially come up with the idea that you think are going to be why people like what you're doing. Again, it's kind of like cheating. It's using the benefits that you already know all these people who love your product have told you that they're getting from it, and you're pitching those as the benefits to other future customers. So you kind of can't lose it with that. Once you've got that right, you should start getting more people really liking the product. Then economics, he talks about as the next phase, which is getting your pricing sorted. So particularly with the web, you can initially do something often for free to just get the products out there, and then worry later about getting that monetization right. And again, Sean's kind of saying, worry about getting the product right before you figure out how you're going to monetize it, because it might well be the case that the initial idea you have changes, and as a result of that, the appropriate business model for the idea that you end up pursuing is different to the initial one that you would have done. And then later on, optimizing and scaling up. But the scaling at the top of the pyramid, which is like spending lots of money on marketing, outbound marketing, advertising, all that sort of stuff that people stereotypically might think of as marketing, that comes really late in the game. The stuff you start with is really about getting product market fit. That's what the marketing should be focused on in the early stages. And a good way to do this is to start niche. So rather than trying to get product market fit with the whole world or everyone that you're trying to target, just target a small niche. So if we look at Facebook as a case study with this, so Mark launched the product just at Harvard to start with and got something that he knew that the people there would really like. Once he'd got that sorted, he worried about, and he got that effectively product market fit within that. He extended it, and then extended it, and extended it. But at each point, making sure that he'd built a product that really met the needs of the market he was targeting. I think if he'd tried, for example, to just launch Facebook as an everyone social network right at the beginning, it probably wouldn't have worked so well, because he wouldn't have necessarily got all the things in the product built in the right way, all the privacy settings that people really want to start with. So That's something that we're doing similarly with GroupSpaces, and it doesn't really matter what market you're targeting. Starting niche and trying to solve a problem for a smaller subset of the overall customer base you're looking to target is likely to be a good thing. Then, last couple of points with the marketing. With customer acquisition, which you will come to later on, the two key metrics that you need to think about when you're trying to build a profitable company, at the end of the day, that's what you're looking to do, is make a profit with the business, are what's the cost of customer acquisition and what's the lifetime customer value. So what I mean by this is how much are you paying in total, including like your employees' salaries, your time that you can make up as a salary if you're trying in the early days when you're a student, adverts, all the different things, whatever you're doing when you're testing out your marketing. Is that cost going to be lower than the actual value of a customer to you? Because if you're paying more and spending more time to actually get people to sign up with your service than they're worth to you, then you're going to be making a loss, and you've created a loss-making business. So the way to get that right, and you can test this at the early stages, is to just measure things really hard. And these are some of the marketing channels that you might want to think of. I completely ripped this slide off from someone else. So you can see all the different sorts of ideas you might have to market your product, which might be using search engines, using PR, all these different things you can try. So a couple of examples of things that we use with GroupSpaces. So the best way to market your product is through free channels, because then the cost of customer acquisition is zero. So if you're making any money, it's a profit. And the way that GroupSpaces works and grows virally is that the leaders of groups sign up. They can import their members from Excel. Their members will then get told that they've been added to a group on GroupSpaces. They'll receive emails, they'll get invited to events, they'll get asked to pay their membership, and the slide presentation will go. And anyway, and basically, they see how GroupSpaces works, and so if they're on the committee for another society, they might think, oh, I quite like to use GroupSpaces for this other society. This looks quite a cool way of sending out newsletters or whatever it may be. And then they'll sign up and create a group, and the process starts again. It's how, if you look at, particularly on the web, all companies have really got big. It's through this viral growth. So with Facebook, you sign up and you want all your friends to be on there as well, so you can then import them from your email address book. That's a very popular way of sites getting out there too. But that only works when you've got people already signed up. So the other thing that we do with GroupSpaces is we seed the product, where we actually get out there and get people signed up through a bunch of channels. So we do partnerships, working with whether it's student unions or national associations. We acquire groups online through Google ads and Facebook ads. We'll use offline channels as well, like going to freshers fairs, and we'll get on the phone or meet people, do direct sales, which is quite time consuming and expensive, but worth it to us for those big customers.